Greetings, my friends. Please make certain that you are still subscribed to this channel because every day I'm hearing from other people that they have been unsubscribed without their knowledge by YouTube. And if you are not subscribed, please consider supporting this channel. We need you. Thank you. Corporations, as a rule, are not concerned about morality. They are rapacious business entities that care only for acquisition and profit, and the general good of the larger civilization is at best irrelevant and at worst an obstacle to unfettered wealth. It is therefore incumbent upon those of us who care about our civilization and modern myths to differentiate between a corporation's legal and moral rights. They are not the same thing. Not at all. It is my position that a corporation undoubtedly possesses legal rights when it comes to intellectual property, but those rights are not absolute moral rights when that control of an IP impacts, impairs, or obliterates the right of a culture to the myths they have enshrined. Case in point, Star Wars. In a mere 42 years, Star Wars has been transformed from an entertainment property to a myth. A piece of our culture that provides life lessons about the ideals of Western civilization. In the West, we value the attributes of individuality, courage, loyalty, heroism, friendship, duty, and the innate worth of epic stories. All attributes that are amplified and echoed by the hero's journeys of Anakin and Luke Skywalker. Star Wars Episodes 1 through 6 tell a complete arc of the fall and redemption of a hero. It speaks volumes regarding the importance of family in our culture and the possibility of salvation for even the most base among us, those who have fallen deeply into evil. The tale of Anakin Skywalker's fall and his redemption through the faith of his abandoned and betrayed son Luke is a tale of forgiveness, fortitude, and ultimate optimism for the human condition. Given the lofty and universal importance of such a message in a world where traditional human values and standards are under attack, I put it to you. Isn't the idea that Disney has the right to purchase such a myth and then warp it beyond recognition not only absurd, but obscene? Is there any moral basis for the notion that Disney's right to profit from their purchased property is more vital than the right of our civilization to preserve its foundational myths? Consider the Star Wars saga. There can be no doubt whatsoever as to what George Lucas was saying with his tale. Lucas was pointing to the dangers of complacency in republics, the danger that agents from within would arise and exploit the law to pervert the course of justice and undermine civilization using the tools of civilization. But even more than that, Lucas was concerned with the importance of the hero's journey, employing the foundations of mythic storytelling conventions to craft what would itself become a modern myth. His tale is simple. A powerful warrior possesses a tragic flaw, an excess of compassion that leads him to become his own enemy, an embodiment of the very evil he despises. That fallen warrior is redeemed when his son overcomes obstacles to faithfully walk the path he fell away from, showing him the way back to himself. Anakin's redemption at the hands of Luke is a timeless tale that in its simplicity speaks to the best parts of ourselves and our civilization. Now look at what Disney has done to this story with their wretched sequel trilogy. Caring nothing for fans and understanding nothing about the larger narrative of Star Wars and its impact on our culture, they have hopelessly perverted and mangled Lucas's original work into a hideous parody of itself. If you consider Disney Star Wars to be canon, the story of Star Wars goes something like this. Star Wars is the story of the ultimate triumph of evil. Star Wars, start to finish, is the tale of the triumph of Sheev Palpatine. Palpatine is a dark wizard hell-bent on destroying the Galactic Republic and the Jedi Order. Masquerading as a senator within the very institution he wants to destroy, Palpatine is a Sith Lord with a master plan that he sets in motion by creating Anakin Skywalker. While it is unclear whether or not Anakin is actually his biological genetic seed, it is clear that Anakin is Palpatine's creature. Using the Force or his own genetic material, he impregnates Shmi Skywalker in order to create a powerful vergence in the Force with the aim of manipulating that powerful being some decades down the road to help him conquer the galaxy. Make no mistake, Disney would have us believe that Palpatine is the victor of this saga, if not its actual hero. Palpatine is thinking far ahead, far more deeply than the ignorant Jedi, who in their smug complacency fail to see this monstrous threat in their very midst. This is all George Lucas's tale. This is canon. Palpatine implements his plan perfectly, manipulating the compassion of the adult Anakin to instill fear within him for his loved ones, and twisting his sense of justice to turn him against the Jedi, all but destroying the Jedi Order and leading to the fall of the Republic and the rise of the Empire. Anakin becomes Darth Vader, a willing tool of evil, and yet there is a flaw in Palpatine's plan: the son and daughter of Anakin Skywalker. And in that son is planted the seeds of ultimate redemption. Luke Skywalker's heroism, courage, optimism, and incorruptible decency leads to a correction of the sins of the father, the salvation of Anakin, and the fall of the Empire. That is George Lucas's Star Wars. Now consider what Disney has twisted this saga into with The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker. While Disney has the legal and moral right to further develop profitable new chapters in the Star Wars saga, do they have the moral right to absolutely pervert Lucas's message? Do they have the right to take myths that have been deeply woven into the fabric of our civilization only to callously pull the threads, warping and distorting that very fabric? Because this is what Star Wars is now, according to Disney. Star Wars is ultimately about the triumph of Sheev Palpatine because Palpatine survived. Star Wars is not about heroism, redemption, or the triumph of good because that's not the end of the story. Everything Luke did, everything Anakin went through was for nothing. Mere temporary setbacks to Palpatine's evil designs. Palpatine survives according to Disney. He survives being thrown down a reactor shaft and being fried. He survives the explosion that tears the Death Star apart. He survives flying in that depressurized wreckage through the vacuum of space. He survives the incredible heat of re-entry into the atmosphere of Endor. He survives the mind-blowing crash of the massive Death Star wreckage on the surface of Endor, and somehow, by telecommuting, selling Mary Kay in his spare time, something along those lines, Palpatine manages to amass enough of a fortune to covertly, without shipyards, build a massive fleet populated with hundreds of thousands, if not millions of personnel, and store them underwater for 30 years. Yes, it's stupid beyond belief, but this is what Disney is telling us. But none of that matters, ultimately. What matters is that Palpatine's master plan continues. Palpatine creates Snoke to found the First Order. He has many spare Snokes for some reason. Maybe he likes Snoke soup and Snoke tea. It's possible that Snoke is not only an extension of Palpatine's evil, but he also keeps spare Snokes floating in cans because they make tasty treats for midnight snacks. So the First Order is Palpatine's creation, a diversion to conceal the real fleet, complete with Death Star cannons. Man, that Amway gig must pay big bucks. And now we come to Rey. Rey and Kylo are dyads, meaning they're like happy little Energizer battery bunnies of the Force. Turns out that Rey is Palpatine's granddaughter, just like Anakin was his metaphorical or actual son, and Kylo Ren is a Skywalker, which means that Palpatine also was responsible for Kylo's creation. And so what do we honestly have at the end of the Disney trilogy? The pure and absolute triumph of Sheev Palpatine. When Palpatine, Rey, and Kylo assemble at the end of Episode 9, falsely called The Rise of Skywalker, since at the end of it, the Skywalker clan is completely eradicated from the galaxy. When they are all assembled at the end, it's a family reunion of sorts. For they are all, in a sense, Palpatine's. Palpatine bids Rey to kill him so that he can enter her body and together they will rule the galaxy. Rey does exactly what he asks her to do. She kills Palpatine. Disney would have us forget that is exactly what Palpatine wanted, in hopes we won't ask why Palpatine didn't then enter her body and take her over as he said he would. Rey dies, and once again the Skywalker in the room, Ben Solo, succumbs to the tragic flaw of compassion and gives his life to save Rey, thus condemning the Skywalker line to extinction. This turns Anakin and Luke's fall and redemption into a twisted joke. It was all for nothing. The original trilogy didn't matter at all. Palpatine survived. He and his granddaughter bring about the fall of the Skywalker clan, which is itself a moot point because the Skywalkers were his creatures the entire time. This works in Lucas's original trilogy because of the heroism of Luke Skywalker and the redemption of Darth Vader, and the message is that our fates are not determined by mere circumstance, but through the application of will, that the cruelties of fate can be overcome by heroic individual effort, that we can rise above our origins and transcend our limitations, and that forgiveness is possible. Disney takes that message and rips it to shreds. There is no redemption. There is only the inevitable and inexorable progress of evil. It bides its time, it gathers power, and in the end, despite the heroism of those who resist evil, despite the common good, despite compassion, despite the goodwill of the larger body of humanity, in the end, evil ultimately triumphs in Disney, Star Wars. Rey Palpatine, the last man standing, goes to Tatooine, and the fall of the House of Skywalker is complete. Rey takes Luke's lightsaber and buries it in the sand, along with Leia's non-existent lightsaber, because it's a lie that Leia was ever a Jedi. Rey takes possession of Luke's homestead, takes possession of Luke's moisture evaporator farm. She takes possession of Luke's name, and she stands there literally stealing Luke's sunset, stealing Luke's most iconic moment from the original trilogy, as the ghosts of Luke and Leia watch impotently from afar, smiling like idiots, smiling like Disney hoped the audience would at this affront. So that's the happy ending to George Lucas's life work that Disney gave us this Christmas. At the end of the saga, the Jedi are extinct and the Skywalker clan is dead. A Palpatine has taken everything from the Skywalkers, including their good name. In the end, Palpatine's seed has prevailed and stands as the most powerful force in the universe. We are led to believe that Rey has rejected Sheev Palpatine, and yet everything unfolded as he envisioned it. Palpatine wanted her to kill him, and she did. And who is to say that if only we cut back to her face one more time at the end of the movie, we wouldn't see her eyes start to glow yellow in that Tatooine sunset. Disney's Star Wars not only presumes to complete George Lucas's epic saga, it actually distorts and perverts the original trilogy beyond all recognition, tacitly and explicitly working against everything Lucas intended. And that's why Disney's Star Wars isn't Star Wars at all. If anything, it's the death of the Star Wars we knew. I will go more deeply into why this is so wrong in a future video, but for now I will simply say this. Corporations do not have the absolute moral right to destroy our myths for profit. When a company uses the power of the IP to repudiate and destroy what came before, the larger culture has the absolute moral right to reject such corruption. Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, and the dreams that inspired us all at some point belong to us, for they inform the fabric of our imagination. And you can't copyright the contents of our skulls. From the center of the earth, this is Dictor Van Doomcock bidding you all, my friends, stay angry.